The brutality, the moral void at the heart of big tech was exposed yesterday in a brilliant in a brilliant way. Really, the world's most powerful software companies are not only entrenching themselves in state violence, but are actively punishing anyone in their ranks who dares to raise a voice against that process. What we're witnessing is an erosion of ethical boundaries. Microsoft, a household name once associated with innovation, is now increasingly defined by suppression, not of bugs or of glitches, but of conscience. At the heart of this is Joe Lopez, a software engineer who dared to interrupt the CEO, Satya Nadella, at Microsoft's flagship Build conference in Seattle. His crime, asking the company to show how its Azure cloud platform is killing Palestinians. A pointed reference to Microsoft's admission that it's providing AI services to the Israeli military during its ongoing war in Gaza. Lopez was immediately escorted out and fired. Not long before, two other employees were dismissed after confronting Microsoft's AI chief, Mustafa Suleyman, calling him a war profiteer. This is not an isolated episode of protest, but part of a wider movement within Microsoft. No Azure for apartheid, formed by current and former staff, outraged by the company's role in supplying a military force accused of war crimes and more recently of genocide. What followed was not dialogue nor introspection, but clampdown, and reports suggest Microsoft has blocked internal emails containing the words Palestine and Gaza. And when technology firms police language within their own ranks, they're not defending neutrality, they are curating complicity. Microsoft insists it has no evidence its technology is being used to target civilians. But here we must ask, what level of evidence is sufficient? Does a company require satellite imagery of an Azure-powered drone strike before accepting responsibility, or is the very act of enabling an occupying force enough to raise serious ethical red flags? This mirrors a broader trend in Silicon Valley, the conflation of technological prowess with political immunity. Accountability is outsourced, morality rebranded as a distraction, and even Microsoft looks mild when compared to Palantir, a company whose CEO, Alex Karp, has openly stated that it takes pleasure in the fact that his software scares enemies and on occasion kills them. Palantir supplies the Israeli military and gleefully signed a contract with Netanyahu's government the day after Israel was accused of genocide in the International Criminal Court. Yet Starmer's government in the UK here has granted Palantir access to NHS data and, more worryingly, policing contracts across the UK. These surveillance tools, already discredited in the US for racial profiling and miscarriages of justice, are now quietly embedding themselves within British law enforcement without full public scrutiny. When a company that brags about making death a deliverable is allowed to analyse our health and our criminal records, we're no longer talking about data, we're talking about domination. So the question is, where does this leave us? Microsoft and Palantir exemplify a new corporate authoritarianism, one that uses innovation to launder complicity. And they don't merely serve governments, they shape policy, they enforce silence, they define the contours of acceptable speech. Joe Lopez, Vania Agrawal, and other fired employees are not threats to order. They're the canaries in the digital coal mine, and their courage reminds us that moral clarity is not noise to be muted at a shareholder meeting. It's the signal that we ignore at our peril. If we remain silent, we become co-authors in the dystopia that is being written in code.